Tonight, a deluge of new documents from the infamous Epstein files. What's now seeing the light of day, and how one shocking document is already being called a fake.
Given the fact that the DOJ has done an exhaustive look at all of these documents to ensure the redactions, how could something like this be included?
The connection the documents allegedly show between Epstein, Canadian fashion mogul Peter Nygard, and a member of the royal family. Plus, the so-called cocaine lawyer out on bail, why a judge says his life is in danger. And hailing a hero in time for the holidays.
I just did I think I did anything that anybody would have done.
The bravery this man showed when a fire tore through his home that landed him in the hospital.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina. Reporting tonight, Marcia McMillan.
Good evening. New information is coming to light this evening about the relationship between U.S. President Donald Trump and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It comes after the latest release of documents concerning Epstein, which also detail how investigators wanted to question a former prince about his ties to a Canadian fashion mogul. CTV's Abigail Bimman starts us off.
The document dump is 30,000 pages, including a 2020 letter from American authorities to UK counterparts requesting help questioning the former Prince Andrew in connection with two separate sex trafficking investigations, Jeffrey Epstein and convicted Canadian fashion executive Peter Nygard. Investigators wanted details from the ex-prince about his relationship with Epstein, the names of any females he met through Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, and similarly his relationship with Nygard, details of any trips he took to the Bahamas estate called Nygard Key, and names of any females he met through Nygard or at Nygard Key.
This is very, very real, very active still. Even though Peter Nygard himself is serving a lengthy sentence in Canada, survivors, many of them are still serving those sentences of pain, shame, and everything that comes along with having survived sexual assault.
The letter says Prince Andrew is not presently a target of the investigations, and there is no evidence he committed any crime.
It's deeply embarrassing, but it obviously justifies the action that has been taken by the king in extraordinarily removing his princely title.
Also part of the document release, an email saying U.S. President Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously reported, and a disturbing letter purported to be written by Epstein to Larry Nassar in prison, the U.S. Olympics gymnastics team doctor convicted of sexual abuse. The Department of Justice later said the FBI determined the letter is fake.
Given the fact that the DOJ has done an exhaustive look at all of these documents to ensure the redactions, how could something like this be included?
The DOJ also posting in general, some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims against the president.
Being on the defensive when it was really their job to release these documents, their job to properly redact victims' names that they completely failed to do.
What this whole thing is with Epstein is a way of trying to deflect from the tremendous success that the Republican Party has.
The slow leak of heavily redacted information has been criticized by both Epstein victims and lawmakers as the scandal continues to plague the president and Republicans ahead of the midterm elections in 2026. Marcia?
Thank you, Abigail. New developments tonight in another high-profile investigation. Police in the United Kingdom say actor and comedian Russell Brand is facing further charges of rape and sexual assault. The new charges are related to accusations made by two women. They come in the wake of 5 charges announced in April involving 4 other women, with accusations dating back over 2 decades. Brand pleaded not guilty to those initial charges back in May. In a significant defeat to the White House, the U.S. Supreme Court is refusing to allow the Trump administration to deploy National Guard troops to Chicago. The justices turned down the administration's request to overturn a ruling by a U.S. district judge which blocked the deployment of troops. The outcome is a rare Supreme Court setback for President Trump, who has won multiple victories in emergency appeals. It took over 2 months for the conservative-stacked top court to come to their decision. There is growing tension tonight between the U.S. and Venezuela over access to the South American country's oil resources. But as CTV's Jeremy Sharon reports, the U.S. president's interests in Venezuelan oil could have implications for Canada.
Off the coast of Venezuela, sanctioned oil tankers have become the target of U.S. authorities. 2 have been intercepted and seized already, along with millions of barrels of oil, and Washington says it's after more.
Maybe we'll sell it, maybe we'll keep it. Maybe we'll use it in the strategic reserves. We're keeping it. We're keeping the ships also.
The U.S. has increased its military presence in the Caribbean Sea. Trump ordered a blockade last week, calling it the biggest armada the U.S. has ever had in South America. Today, Venezuelans hit the streets in protest of the U.S. president they called Pirate Trump, who Monday had this warning for Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
He could do whatever he wants. It's all right. Whatever he wants to do. If he wants to do something, if he plays tough, it'll be the last time he's ever able to play tough.
Meanwhile, the tension could have implications for Canada.
Venezuela has some of the largest oil reserves in the world. They're primarily heavy oil and bitumen, which are very much like what Canada's reserves are here in Alberta in the oil sands.
Political instability in Venezuela has given Canadian oil producers the advantage, but if that changes, it could mean increased competition.
This makes it all the more important for us to think about sending our oil again to the Pacific, to a Northwest Pacific pipeline, knowing that the Asian market is growing.
Trump's interest in Venezuelan oil could eventually force a fight for access to the U.S. market. But the question is,
how long would it take to build the projects that could start to displace Western Canadian oil? And I think that would take a long time.
That means time is in Canada's favor. And in the short term, Trump's blockade could actually increase demand for Canadian heavy crude. But it could also lead to uncertainty and price volatility in the market. Marcia?
Thank you, Jeremy. A segment from the American news program 60 Minutes that was shelved by CBS prior to its airing was briefly streaming in Canada yesterday under the branding of a Canadian broadcaster. The program was available on Stack TV, part of Global's streaming platform. The segment, which focused on White House deportation policies, is no longer available, but some Canadian viewers or international viewers with VPNs uploaded part of the segment to social media platforms. An Ontario lawyer accused of playing a key role in an international drug smuggling network has been granted bail. Deepak Paradkar is being released on $5 million bail, but will remain under supervised house arrest. The self-proclaimed cocaine lawyer is one of several Canadians arrested last month as part of an FBI investigation targeting former Olympian and alleged drug kingpin Ryan Wedding. Prosecutors claim Paradkar advised Wedding on the murder of a federal witness. In his decision to grant bail, the judge said the accused is in danger of being killed by the drug ring to ensure his silence, and his only way to stay alive may be to attend court. Questions remain tonight about the future of Canada Post and its ability to deliver what Canadians need from the national mail carrier. That's despite the Crown Corporation finally coming to a tentative agreement with the union representing thousands of its workers. CTV's Scott Hurst on how those who rely on the service are feeling.
Labor unrest between Canada Post and its union representing 55,000 postal workers and uncertainty about the future forced this Toronto small business to make a choice.
We had to go a different route this holiday season.
Retailer Province of Canada ships clothing across the country, and by turning away from Canada Post, is now relying on multiple carriers to fill the gap.
After last year's strike and then this September, we just didn't feel we had the confidence to go into the holiday season with them again.
But a tentative deal between Canada Post and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers announced on Monday may at least provide some stability.
So on the one hand, short run, good news. In the longer term, it doesn't solve the underlying structural problems.
Canada Post said the agreements include a 6.5% wage increase in year one, a 3% hike in year two, and increases matching inflation in years 3 through 5. They also include enhanced benefits and a weekend parcel delivery model, which had been a key sticking point in negotiations.
They are still bleeding. They are hemorrhaging incredible amounts of money. So they're a long way away from where they have to be. They've got a huge job ahead to become more dynamic and productive and competitive.
And maybe that will be enough to win back at least this Toronto business.
I think until this gets fully sorted out properly, then we can maybe reconsider going back to them for next year.
Cup W's national board is recommending its members accept the deals. Ratification votes are set to take place early next year. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
Canada Post hasn't been the only organization affected by labor unrest this year. A little later in the show, we'll take a look at what had Canadian workers across the industry voicing their frustration in 2025. Navigating the healthcare system can be an uphill battle, especially for those dealing with a rare medical condition. For some, that can lead to the decision to seek treatment outside our borders, whatever the cost may be. CTV's Alex Karpa spoke to one Manitoba woman who finds out what forced her to make that very decision.
This is Cynthia Mitchell. She has been living with a very rare and aggressive form of bile duct cancer called cholangiocarcinoma.
I have metastatic cancer, which is in my liver, suspected to be also in my lungs, my abdomen, and my lymph nodes.
Despite being told in 2021 that she only had 3 to 6 months to live, Mitchell is now at the 4.5-year mark living with this disease.
It's been quite the journey.
Throughout the past 4 years, Mitchell and her family have been working to keep the cancer at bay, but it's come at a cost. She says they have been forced to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pocket for treatment across North America.
It's really hard knowing that something's out there and that you can't access it unless you're prepared to pay.
Around 500 Canadians are diagnosed with cholangiocarcinoma per year. The Canadian Cancer Society says rare cancers like this one are difficult to diagnose and treat, making it challenging for some to access specialized care.
There's often a problem with coordinating care. If it is rare, then it may be hard to find that specific specialist who is also involved in clinical trials.
After exhausting all available trials and treatment in Canada, Mitchell is now heading to Houston for a promising clinical trial, which is costing her family a great deal of money.
We really don't have time to continue to navigate the Canadian healthcare system.
Mitchell says she wants to see some changes to help Canadians living with rare diseases navigate the healthcare system better, including better access to drugs for rare cancers and financially help those accessing trials within Canada and out of country. Alex Karpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Coming up, soaring demand.
It's the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of keeping their car running, whatever it may be. It's just that things are so expensive.
How one food bank in PEI is stepping up as holiday needs reach new heights. The holiday season is the busiest time of year for many food banks across the country, and Canada's smallest province is no exception. Charities on PEI say more families are seeking support. CTV's Maria Saru finds out how the community is meeting the demand.
One item at a time, a Christmas hamper comes together. At the Upper Room in Charlottetown, food bank staff and volunteers are in the final push, making sure holiday baskets are ready for more than 1,200 families relying on the help.
It's the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of keeping their car running, whatever it may be, but those are the things that we hear consistently. It's just that things are so expensive.
Executive Director Mike McDonald adds, more and more the people lining up are employed, but their paychecks just aren't keeping up. And seniors on pensions or fixed incomes are struggling too.
Almost 35% of people using PEI food banks are employed. And so it's a pretty staggering number.
These are just some of the boxes.
Over in Summerside, the Salvation Army says it's already distributed hundreds of holiday boxes, with calls still coming in.
It was about 312 Christmas hampers, so we did see a very big demand this year. A lot of working class families now, and it's due to inflation and the increased cost of living.
Charities say the demand doesn't end after the holidays, and communities keep showing up year-round to support their neighbors.
The Upper Room Food Bank and the Summerside Salvation Army are still accepting donations, saying turkey, broth, and gravy are in high demand, but all items are appreciated. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
Still ahead, from missed flights to delayed packages. How a year of labor disruptions across Canada led to mixed results. As the year draws to a close, a new report shows who Canadians search for the most on the internet in 2025. Prime Minister Mark Carney topped the list of most searched Canadians, while his predecessor, Justin Trudeau, came in second. Former NDP leader Jagmeet Singh was the only other politician on the list at number 5. Homegrown pop stars Justin Bieber, Tate McRae, Drake, and Shawn Mendes also piqued the curiosity of Canadians. So did film stars Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling, and Rachel McAdams, rounding out the top 10. 2025 delivered its fair share of labor disruptions this year, from grounded flights to delayed mail and empty classrooms. Workers made their frustrations known with mixed results. CTV's Kathy Lee looks back on a year of intense labor disputes.
The soul of Canada's workforce rose to the surface on picket lines marked by tired feet and a demand for something better.
We're striking to keep good service and to keep good jobs. We will be here until we win.
Years of built-up frustration spilling into the streets from coast to coast. A chorus of unrest, grounded flights, slowed mail delivery, and emptied out classrooms in Alberta.
We're in a place where we've got a broken system. It's sick. It's been death by 1,000 budget cuts.
The summer of labor unrest begins on August 16th, with more than 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants walking off the job for 3 days, after a new negotiated agreement with their employer fell through.
Starting flight attendants now are making $1,900 a month in an area where rent is $2,000.
In addition to wages, at issue, employment conditions, work rules, and unpaid hours.
We're not paid anytime the aircraft is not in motion.
Pay, one of the sticking points behind the 2-week nationwide postal strike on September 25th.
Fair wages, improved health and safety, expansion of the public service, and a right to retire with dignity.
Workers also motivated to go to the picket lines after the federal government announced an end to door-to-door delivery in an effort to save a struggling Canada Post. The disruption impacting many businesses relying on the delivery service.
There's been some delays in sending out packages, and we have had to use alternative services at times.
We've essentially just have lost confidence in Canada Post.
And Alberta teachers losing confidence in the education system.
Why does Alberta, the richest province, have the poorest funded classrooms?
Tens of thousands of educators walked off the job on October 6th, wanting better wages, more support, and smaller classroom sizes.
Having to teach 37 grade 6 kids, it's too much.
We are burnt out, we are broken, the kids are not getting what they need.
Only to be forced back to work 3 weeks later after the province invoked the notwithstanding clause, overriding some rights and freedoms to pass the back to work legislation.
This has been the longest education strike in Canadian history. We were looking for a way to bring some finality to it.
The move galvanized students province-wide to walk out of their classrooms.
We're not walking out because we don't care about school. We're walking out because we care too much. We care too much to stay silent.
The students here are angry. You could really feel the emotion in the air because their teachers aren't able to strike. They've taken matters into their own hands, and they want the government to listen. They want to be heard.
Pay our teachers and give us the education we deserve because this isn't fair.
An expert says the level of recent labor disruption and strike activity across Canada hasn't been seen since the 1980s.
Workers engage in this kind of labor activism when they've been pushed too far, when they're fed up. And so they start to push back. I think what we saw in the last couple of years is a significant shift in workers' ambitions. They wanted more because of COVID, followed up by inflation. I think that really ramped up workers' expectations.
And although the strikes have caused chaos, public support for workers remained strong, even among hundreds of thousands of stranded Air Canada passengers.
I think it's okay for these guys to keep fighting.
They're asking for the bare minimum, and I think that they deserve what they're asking for.
As for what comes next for the labor unrest, no one can say for certain. But experts believe this year wasn't an end, but a beginning, a workforce finding strength, and a movement that will carry on. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Still ahead, a hero heading home. Inside the road to recovery for a man who put his life on the line for others. Before we go tonight, we want to introduce you to a Montreal area man who's being hailed as a hero. While he may not agree with the title, there is no denying he put his life on the line to help his neighbors escape a fire. CTV's Sweeta Rassi spoke to him about his ordeal and found out how he is miraculously making his daughter's only Christmas wish come true.
Paul-Henri Sylvain is slowly starting to feel like his old self again and is finally able to have some quality time with his daughter.
Did you believe that I was going to be okay for Christmas?
Yes.
100%?
For 2 weeks, he was in a medically induced coma, and when he finally woke up, everything was a blur.
It took about 2 to 3 days to realize what had happened.
What happened began on November 15th in Lachine. Sylvain woke to a fire inside his home. His first instinct was to make sure all his neighbors got out of the building safely. After that, he ran back inside and tried to put out the fire. But Sylvain suffered serious injuries. Burns to his body and his lungs and airway were badly affected. Sylvain doesn't like to talk about the fire, and he doesn't consider himself a hero.
Well, I kind of laugh at the hero thing. I just did I think I did anything that anybody would have done. I'm just happy everybody was safe.
His focus now is healing and making up for the time he lost.
I'm just really happy that I could take care of my daughter. That's my most important thing.
As Sylvain recovers, he's surrounded by friends and family. His biggest supporter, his 9-year-old daughter, Eva.
I knew he was going to be okay, so I was not really worried because I knew he was going to be okay.
All Eva wanted this Christmas was for her father to wake up, but doctors couldn't promise he would be released. Clearly, they underestimated Sylvain.
When I got out of bed, the nurse was like, "You can't walk." And as soon as I left the room, I started walking on my own, slowly and surely.
While there's still a long way to go, Sylvain will get to leave the hospital on Christmas Eve, meaning his daughter's wish will come true. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News, Montreal.
That is our newscast for tonight. I'm Marcia McMillan. For all of us at CTV National News, thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.
Canada's #1 newscast for excellence in journalism.
We begin tonight with breaking news.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina, winner of the Canadian Screen Award for Best National Newscast. Watch weeknights at 11.